Welcome to a new lesson of our grammar course. Today's session is about modal verbs. Generally speaking, modal verb can be taught in two different ways, but in our session we are going to take a very precise and concise way of teaching this course, as given in the following outline. We are going to tackle general introduction, then move to ability, permission, possibility, obligation and necessity, prohibition and lack of necessity, deduction, assumption, and others. Here, let's take general introduction. In general, the verbs can be divided into two types. First one is lexical verbs, and the second, auxiliary verbs. Lexical verbs can be such speaking, play, walk, get, want. For example, Selma wants water. She speaks English. But auxiliary verb, we have three types: primary auxiliaries, modal auxiliaries, semi-auxiliaries. Primary auxiliary is like have, be, and do. For example, in the present continuous, I am writing, you are writing, he is writing. I have seen my friend. This is present perfect. I have seen my friend. I don't play football, or he didn't play football. This is related to type of tenses. But modal auxiliary can, will, should, must, and so on. For example, we can speak English. Ali may be at home. Aya will see a doctor. Semi-modal, I have to, need to, used to, etc. For example, I need to drink water. I used to climb a tree. In our course, we are going to be specifically focused on modal auxiliary and some of semi-modal auxiliary. But I have a remark to take into consideration while you are going through this course. The first, we don't change the form of auxiliary as we do with the ordinary verb. For example, she cans or she canned. This is a mistake. And the correct is she can speak English. Another one is each modal can express different meanings, depends on the place where it was used. For example, the statement "can you give me your phone" does not have the same meaning of the sentence "I can swim." Let's start with ability. We have here three modals: can, could, to be able. Can express ability in the present. For example, Brahim can speak Chinese now. Nabil can swim easily. So we are talking about the present situation. And we can use can in ability in future, as Dries cannot come tomorrow because he has to work. And in type 1, if Kautar gets a car, she can drive to work. When we use could, we express the ability into the past, like my father could run fast when he was younger. Or ability in unreal condition, like condition number 2. Unreal condition, for example, as imaginary condition, when we want to imagine a condition that cannot be happened in the present, like I could go to school if I were not ill, or if I had money I could spend it. Generally speaking, to be able to is used in most tenses and forms. I will explain these terms. Nabil is able to swim easily. If we go to is, it expresses in the present. And my father was able to run fast. Was, it's in the past. Great. Zach will be able to speak English soon. Here, it's in the future. And my purpose is to be able to get money. This is an infinitive form. That's why we say when we talk about present or past and future, we talk about tenses. But when we talk about infinitive form, here we talk about forms. Go to number 2, permission. It's used here with can, could, may. And it has different meaning. Can have, for example, ask for, give, and refuse permission. Like the following sentence: Can I go out, please? You can drink water. No, you cannot park here. Through understanding these kind of sentences, we can assume that used in informal way. Like the first one, asking, "Can I go out, please?" You can say this expression to your friend, but in a teacher we have another expression. You can drink water. No, you cannot park here. Imagine you go to a place in front of someone's shop and you try to park your car, and he would say, "No, you cannot park here." For example, when we have a general rules or a law that is made by a person, like you cannot put on your cap in school, or student can use calculator in the exam. This is a general rule that we decide to be accepted. Here may ask for and give permission, and even it's used for refusing permission. And let's study these sentences. May I use your phone, sir? You may take my car if you need it. No, you may not leave the room. So here you can understand this is a formal way. So may we use it in a formal way. Like the following sentences. May I use your phone, sir? This is asking for permission. You may take my car if you need it. This is given. No, you may not leave the room. Could is also used for asking permission. But what is the difference between could we open the windows and can we open the windows? This is more polite than the first one. To understand the differences between all of these, let's say, modal, it can be seen as the following note. May is the most formal and polite, while could is more formal or polite than can. Let's go to possibility with can, could, may, might. All of them expresses possibility with different degrees. First one, can, expresses possibility with 50%. We can go to Rabat in the next holiday. So, for example, we are somehow, let's say, sure to go to Rabat in the next holiday. How can you succeed without working hard? Could is also used with possibility with 40%. Like, the car is far. It could be Ahmed's. For example, this car I cannot recognize. It could belong to Ahmed. Coronavirus could get worse if we don't stay at home. So this is the situation that could be happen in the whole world if the person cannot and people in general cannot stay at home. May here it's a possibility with 20%, or what we have heard is probability, both for may and might. So let's study the sentences. Sarah may not come tomorrow. The economy may go down this year. For example, imagine if a country like America didn't work during this situation. So maybe it will have some crisis in terms of economy. Second, it may rain because the sky is white. Hamza might go to China to learn Chinese. This could happen in a 5%. Let's move to the other one. Obligation, must, have to, should, ought to. These modals can be expressed as obligation or necessity. Must has two things. Obligation, you must do your homework whether you want or not. Necessity, you must see a doctor because you look very sick. People must eat and drink to stay alive. So necessity is something we need it. It should be done at any cost. But obligation here is like someone who wants to use his power, let's say, to push us to do something. Like imagine your mother told her son, you must do your homework whether you want or not. This is kind of obligation. But in people must eat and drink to stay alive, this is a general necessity. We need it to stay alive. Have to, it's also for necessity. I have to clean my room or my mom will get angry. Here, for example, a necessity that comes from the outside. But I must clean my room because it's dirty. It comes from the speaker himself or herself. As this obligation comes outside the speaker, it comes from the speaker himself or herself. Should or ought to, both of them cannot be separated. But generally speaking, we will understand that should is the most used here in the sentence. You should ought to come early to school. This is a logical necessity. Strong advice, you must or ought to stop smoking. As we said before, that should is more commonly used. Moral obligation, you should or ought to study more. At this stage, I have a note like the difference between must and have to and should or ought to is that when we use should or ought to, we don't know if the obligation will be fulfilled or not. So, for example, when someone told you you should quit smoking, you may quit it or not. But if someone told you you must stop smoking, that means there is no other choice. You should stop it, or maybe you will get punished. Here, prohibition or lack of necessity with mustn't, needn't, don't have to, don't need. Mustn't is expressed with prohibition. For example, people must not cross the road when the red light is on, or you mustn't go to bed until you finish your homework. This is kind of prohibition. It's like someone using a power. Don't have to is kind of lack of necessity, like you don't have to buy new clothes. I will give mine to you. Last but certainly not least, needn't and don't need to is lack of necessity. For example, you needn't run, it's stay early. There is a plenty of tomatoes, you don't need to buy any. I have an additional information here. Imagine this run is a verb ing. We cannot write it with this one. It could be a mistake, or if we write needn't with a noun, it's also a mistake. We only write it with infinitive without to. But here it should be infinitive with to. Let's move to the other one. Deduction and assumption with must, can, will, and should. For example, must is when we are given an assumption that is 100%. Like, he has a great car, he must earn a lot of money. Deduction in the past. This car looks very expensive, he must have cost him a lot of money. To understand the difference between the first one and the other one as it's used in the past, for example, let's study their grammatical structure. This is we have verb plus infinitive, but this one we have have plus verb plus participle. This is what it makes. This model is used in the present or future, and the other that is used in the past. Let's go to logical deduction. You look tired and pale. You must be sick. We have previous information, then we give, let's say, a deduction based on this condition. Can also can be used for assumption, as we have there is some confusion between assumption and deduction and possibility. Somehow they are interchangeable, but the difference between possibility and assumption is that we have previous idea to be based on, but possibility we don't have maybe any idea. Okay, for example, it could rain. It is cloudy, it can rain. The previous idea, it is cloudy. Well, present assumption. He finishes working at 6. He will be home by now. And we use present assumption when we are certain. Here should is also used for assumption. Karim should know the direction through the forest. Imagine we are having a party in the forest and we invite Karim, and maybe he is late, and we can assume that he knows the direction to us through the forest. So she should have done her homework by now. This is assumption. This is used in the past, and this is in the present. And here when we are less certain. The others like advice, suggestions, regret, past habit. Advice, suggestions. Should, like you should tell her how much you loved her. Or ought to, Salim ought to do a lot of exercises. Suggestion with shall. For example, shall you call us on Tuesday or shall we go? Regret, for example, could. And this is used in the past form as you could have seen a doctor. Always, as I said before, when we have this form, it is used into unreal condition in the past. If I had worked hard, I could have succeeded. If we study this condition, we will find had plus verb past participle. It means condition type 3. Past habit is used too. For example, my mother used to ride a bike when she was younger. This is the end of the part 1. In this video, we go through different functions of modal verbs by seeing some of each example. Please wait for coming video which will be about the practical side of this course. Thank you so much.